get paid, manage risk, scale up. We do not just fly, we on the sky, sky commander, die. See, above, go, we on, get ahead.
Okay, let's get started.
You know that specific kind of stomach churn? It's a visceral physical reaction.
Mm-hmm.
You're standing at the entrance of a hotel ballroom with that really ugly patterned carpet, or maybe it's a local brewery where the Chamber of Commerce is hosting some kind of young professionals mixer.
The lighting is always just a little too bright.
Or a little too dim, which is somehow worse.
Yeah, that's almost worse.
Exactly. You're holding a lukewarm coffee or maybe a warm beer in a plastic cup, and you're wearing a name tag that is like already peeling off your sheet.
It's always crooked.
Always. And you scan the room, looking at all these clusters of people laughing and talking, and your brain just screams one word: run.
That is the universal moment of dread. It's right up there with, I don't know, public speaking or getting a notice from the IRS. It's that fight or flight response kicking in when there's absolutely no physical danger.
It really is. It's that feeling of, okay, I have to go sell myself. And for a lot of us, especially in technical fields like drone operations or engineering or specialized surveying, that feels incredibly fake.
It feels awkward. You're worried about the silence.
A dreaded, awkward pass.
You're worried about rejection. And honestly, you're worried about sounding like that guy.
The guy who is just trying to shove a sales pitch down everyone's throat before he's even asked your name.
The human spam bot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the result is usually that you stand by the snack table pretending to be really, really interested in the cheese selection.
That's all. I've been there.
You talk to the one person you already know, and you leave 20 minutes later feeling like you completely, totally wasted your evening.
It's just a cycle of anxiety and inefficiency. But, and this is a big but, we have been reading through a fascinating stack of manuals today that challenges that entire experience.
Oh, it really does.
We are diving into the Sky Commander series, specifically the modules focused on business development and client acquisition. And the core premise here completely flips the script on what networking actually is.
It was a relief to read, honestly.
It really is, because the source material argues that networking isn't about charisma. It isn't about being an extrovert who loves being the center of attention.
Which is good news, because most pilots I know prefer being behind the controller, not in front of a crowd.
Exactly. The premise is this: networking is not performance art. It's engineering.
Engineering, that's the hook for me. That word.
Yeah. The manuals argue that if you treat networking like a flight plan, something with a checklist, a procedure, a standardized workflow, and a specific outcome, it stops being scary and it starts being predictable.
It's about having a flight plan for conversations.
Precisely.
So today's deep dive is specifically tailored for the professional drone operators out there, or really any technical service provider, who wants to turn those random, awkward conversations into a predictable revenue pipeline. We are analyzing a stack of documents, including the Conversational Pipeline Blueprint, Mastering the Social System, the 24-hour follow-up playbook, and, a whole bunch of guides on positioning and curiosity.
The mission today is to decode how to move from saying, I have a drone, which, let's be honest, sounds like a cool hobby.
It really does.
To saying, I provide decision-ready evidence, which sounds like a scalable business.
A huge difference. We're going to cover a massive amount of ground today. We've got the thread mindset versus the lead mindset.
Which is a big one.
We've got the art of the no-cringe opener. And yes, that is the actual technical term used in the notes.
I love that name for it.
We're talking about context switching, so you stop confusing homeowners with industrial jargon. And we're going to talk about micro assets.
Micro assets are a game changer. I mean it. If you take one thing away from today to fix your follow-up game, it is micro assets. It solves that I don't know what to say in my email problem instantly.
Okay, so let's get into it. Section 1, the foundation.
Yeah.
The source material hits us with a pretty brutal critique right out of the gate. It says most drone operators, and honestly, technical people in general, fail at networking because of one specific fundamental mistake.
They fall in love with the tool.
The tool. The drone itself. The hardware.
It's the pilot trap. And you have to think about the psychology here. You've spent thousands, maybe tens of thousands of dollars on this Matrice or this Mavic. You've spent hours studying for your Part 107 in the US or your car's Part 9X in Canada.
You've put in the work.
You've put in the work, you've geeked out on forums, you know what RTK is, you know what thermal sensitivity means, you know the difference between a mechanical shutter and an electronic shutter.
You're proud of that knowledge. You worked hard for it. You want to show it off a little.
Exactly. So naturally, when you walk into a networking event and someone asks, so what do you do? You revert to what you know. You start talking about the drone. You talk about the specs.
You're essentially geeking out. You say, oh, I fly a quadcopter with a radiometric thermal sensor and centimeter level accuracy using an N-tier IP correction service from a base station.
And the person you're talking to, who is maybe a property manager or a construction superintendent or a real estate agent, just nods. Their eyes glaze over.
The slow nod.
The slow nod. They look at their watch. They look for the exit.
Because they don't understand what you're saying.
It's actually worse than that. It's because they don't care. That's the hard truth the manual drops right on you. Non-pilots do not care about your flight time. They don't care about your sensors.
They care about their problems.
They care about their decisions. They care about their problems. They care about their budget.
This brings us to the translation layer concept.
Yeah.
This was a really helpful framework in the reading for me.
Right. You have to translate the feature into an outcome. The manual gives us a formula, and it's super simple. Feature equals what you do. Outcome equals why they care. And proof equals how they believe you.
Okay, let's make this real. I want to drill down into some examples because I think this is where people get stuck. Let's say I'm obsessed with my high-resolution camera. That's the feature. I have a 45 megapixel sensor. How do I translate that?
Okay, perfect example. Take that 45 megapixel sensor. That's the feature. If you tell a property manager, I have a 43 CMOS sensor, they don't know what to do with that information. It's just noise.
It's like a foreign language.
It is. But if you translate that to an outcome, you say something like, you can zoom in later to see what matters without having to go back to the site.
Without having to go back to the site.
Yeah.
That's the outcome. That's time saved. That's gas money saved. That's not pulling a guy off another job.
Precisely. That's a decision helper. Now they care. You've connected the hardware to their Tuesday afternoon.
Okay, what about something more technical, like thermal? That's really popular right now, but it sounds super sci-fi to the average person.
It does. So you don't say radiometric thermal imaging. That sounds like something from Star Trek.
It really does.
Instead, you say you can spot heat patterns to catch moisture issues early before they become mold.
Before they become mold. Ooh, that triggers a fear response. That triggers a saving money response. Mold is expensive.
Exactly. Mold is a 4-letter word to a property manager. Or take RTK mapping. That's the big buzzword in construction and surveying right now.
For the listeners who might not be pilots, RTK stands for real-time kinematic positioning. It's a way to get hyper-accurate GPS data. But it sounds like alphabet soup.
It does. And unless you're talking to a licensed surveyor who speaks that language, don't lead with RTK. Instead, say measurements you can actually plan from so you don't order the wrong amount of material.
Oh, that's a great one.
It's so concrete.
It's such a subtle shift, but it changes everything. You're not selling a flight, you're selling a result. You're selling not ordering the wrong material. You're selling not getting sued over mold.
And that leads us directly to the one-sentence positioning. This is a template provided in the source material that is designed to stop the rambling. Because what usually happens when we try to explain what we do,
we start listing things. I do photos and videos, and I can do roofs and weddings, and I can inspect towers. And
suddenly you sound like a handyman. You sound like a generalist who is desperate for any work. The manual is strict on this. One breath, no buzzwords, and absolutely no I do everything.
I tried this out on myself while reading the prep notes. It's harder than it looks to keep it to one sentence. You feel this urge to add, and also.
You have to resist that urge. The template is simple. I help WHO get outcome by how so they can benefit.
Okay, break that down with an example. Let's say I'm targeting property managers. How would I use that?
Okay, for a property manager, it would sound like this. I help property teams document roof issues so maintenance becomes planned work, not emergency leaks.
That is clean. Planned work, not emergency leaks. That hits a pain point immediately. No one likes emergency leaks at 2 in the morning.
No one. Or let's look at construction. I help teams capture progress visuals so stakeholders stay aligned and change orders are avoided.
You're not mentioning the drone model. You're not mentioning the software. You're mentioning change orders, which is the thing that keeps project managers up at night.
And there's a key element here called the picture word. The sources emphasize this heavily. You need to include one concrete noun that helps the listener visualize the service instantly.
A concrete noun. Like an object, a thing you can touch.
Exactly. Words like roof drains, stockpiles, vegetation, rebar. If you say, I provide data solutions, what does the brain see?
A gray fog. Maybe a server room. It's totally abstract.
It's nothing. It's just a blank. But if you say, I help you measure stockpiles, the brain instantly sees a pile of dirt.
That's so true. Stockpiles is a picture. Solutions is a concept. And concepts are confusing.
And once they have the picture, they can file you away mentally. They know which box you go in. Oh, he's the stockpile guy. She's the roof drain expert. Which brings us to the most dreaded part of the interaction, the opener.
The no-cringe opener. I love that they call it that because that's exactly what it feels like. You're trying not to cringe at yourself.
The goal here is simple. Signal safety and utility, then hand the conversation back. You want to avoid triggering that salesman alarm in their head. You know that alarm.
Oh yeah, the guard is up, alarm, the shields go up.
Right. So how do we structure this so we don't sound like a walking infomercial? It's a 4-part structure, and it should take about 8 to 12 seconds.
8 to 12 seconds. That is fast. That's an elevator pitch for a very short elevator.
It has to be. First, label. Who are you in plain language? Second, outcome. What changes for the client? Third, example. That picture word we just talked about. And fourth, and this is crucial, the handback.
The handback. What's that?
You have to ask a question to give the floor back to them immediately. You can't just drop your statement and stand there.
Right, because that's when the awkward silence happens.
That's the silence.
Okay, let's role play this. I'm at a mixer. I'm holding my warm beer. I look at you and say, so what do you do?
I'd say, I run a drone service that helps facility teams get decision-ready inspections. We focus on things like roof leaks and hard-to-reach assets so you don't have to climb ladders. What kind of projects are you focused on lately?
Oh, that was smooth. That was really smooth. You didn't corner me. You didn't try to close me. You just said, here's what I do, gave me a concrete example, climb ladders, which I get, and then immediately asked about me.
And because I asked about you, the pressure is off. You're not thinking, how do I escape this conversation? You're thinking about your projects. You're thinking about the answer to my question.
But here's the tricky part. Not everyone I talk to is a facility manager. Sometimes it's a homeowner. Sometimes it's a real estate agent. Sometimes it's a guy who owns a gravel pit. The sources talk about context switching.
This is critical. You can't have one script. The manual calls these the 5 levers. You don't change who you are, you're still a drone operator, but you change your frequency based on the listener.
Like tuning a radio. You have to broadcast on the channel they are listening to.
Exactly. There are 4 main personas identified in the text, and they speak completely different languages. If you use the wrong language, you sound alien to them.
Let's run through them. First up, homeowners. What is their psychology? What do they care about?
Homeowners operate on fear and emotion. It's their castle. It's their biggest asset. They care about peace of mind, insurance, and not being scammed. They are terrified of contractors ripping them off.
So what words do we use for them? What's the right language?
Simple, direct words. Damage, leak, clear photos, before and after. Avoid technical terms at all costs. If you start talking about orthomosaics or photogrammetry to a homeowner, they think you're trying to trick them or overcharge them.
They just want to know if their shingles are missing after the windstorm.
That's it. That's all they care about. Next up, small business owners.
Okay.
They are pragmatic, very pragmatic. They care about downtime, revenue, and cost surprises. They hate surprises. They hate things that break their budget.
So the key words for them are more business focused.
Right. Risk, maintenance planning, proof. You're selling them predictability. You're saying, I can show you the condition of your roof so you know if you need to budget for repairs next year instead of being hit with an emergency bill in winter.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, what about a real estate agent?
Totally different. They are on a different planet. They care about speed, taste, and the hero shot.
The hero shot, yeah.
They want to look good to their sellers. They want to win the listing. Their business is all about perception and speed.
So we talk about turnaround time, curb appeal, listing packages, things that sound good in a marketing brochure.
Exactly. You talk about blue skies and perfect angles. You're selling an emotion, a lifestyle. And finally, the last group, industrial or commercial clients. This is the heavy lifting.
These are the big fish. The safety officers, the site supervisors, the engineer.
And they care about defensibility, safety, and compliance. They want an audit trail. They live in a world of liability and regulation.
So the words are different. They're more legalistic.
Yeah, things like traceability, evidence, repeatable. If you tell an industrial safety officer that you can get really cool cinematic shots, they will kick you off the site. They don't want cinematic. They want defensible data. They want to know that the data stands up in court or an audit. They want to know that you aren't going to crash your drone into their $1 million equipment.
So you walk up to someone, but you don't know which bucket they fall into yet. They're just Bob from accounting on their name tag. How do you know which frequency to tune into?
The sources provide a sorting question. And it's brilliant in its simplicity. You ask, when you need documentation, is the goal selling, maintaining, proving, or planning?
Oh, that's clever. So selling is real estate.
Correct. Their brain immediately goes to listings.
Maintaining is property management or facilities.
Yep. They think about leaky roofs.
Proving is insurance or industrial legal stuff.
Exactly. They're thinking about claims and audits.
And planning is construction or development.
Precisely. Their answer tells you exactly which script to load in your head. Oh, we're mostly trying to plan our next phase. Boom. You load the construction script. You start talking about progress and avoiding change orders.
That is so tactical. I love it. Okay, so we've opened the conversation. We've sorted them. We're speaking their language. Now, how do we actually find an opportunity without sounding like we're interrogating them for a sales lead?
This brings us to the curiosity method. And the golden rule here is the 70-30 listen ratio.
70% them talking, 30% you talking.
If you're talking more than 30% of the time, you're losing. The logic is that curiosity isn't just polite small talk. It's field work. You are an investigator. You are hunting for constraints. You are hunting for the problem they can't solve.
The sources lay out this curiosity ladder. It's like a step-by-step guide to digging deeper. It prevents you from getting stuck in, so how about this weather territory forever?
It starts safe and gets progressively deeper. Step 1 is context. What kind of projects are you closest to? Safe, easy. Anyone can answer that. No one feels threatened.
Then you move up the ladder to recurrence.
What problem keeps coming back? This is where you start to find the real pain. If a problem happens once, it's an annoyance. If it happens every month, it's a budget item. That's where the money is.
That's a great distinction. One-off annoyance versus recurring pain. Okay, step 3 is stakes.
When that recurring problem goes wrong, does it hit your schedule, your safety, or your cost? Now you're getting them to quantify the pain. They're not just saying it's a problem, they're saying it's a 2-day delay, which is a number.
Ka-ching. That's value. You can attach a dollar sign to a 2-day delay. And step 4 is constraints.
What makes it so hard to solve today? Why haven't they fixed it? Is it access? Is it that it's too expensive to send a guy up a ladder every week? Is it that the satellite data is too blurry or too slow? This is where you find out if your drone solution actually fits their real-world problem.
And finally, the last rung on the ladder, the decision path.
Who needs to sign off on something like that? You need to know if you're talking to the buyer and influencer. Are they the person with the credit card or the person who advises the person with the credit card?
So you climb this ladder, and suddenly they basically told you exactly how to sell to them without you ever having to sell.
Exactly.
But at some point, you do have to prove you can help. You can't just ask questions forever. The sources talk about the mission moment.
Right. This is the alternative to the resume dump or the war story. We all have that tendency to say, oh man, let me tell you about this one flight where the wind was 40 knots and I had to.
And nobody cares.
Nobody cares. The mission moment is a specific 7-sentence structure designed to show competence without rambling on and on.
7 sentences. That's tight. That takes practice.
It has to be. The structure is setting, stakes, tension, turn, result, lesson, handback.
Can you give us an example? Let's put this in the context of a construction site, since we've been talking about that.
Sure. Okay, here we go. Setting. We had a client who was just getting random site photos from people's phones. Stakes. The stakeholders couldn't actually tell if the project was on track from those pictures. Tension. They were arguing over progress payments every single month.
That's a real problem.
A huge problem. Turn. So we switched to consistent, repeatable drone angles every Friday morning. Result. Now they don't argue over progress because the data is undeniable. Everyone sees the same thing. Lesson. We learned that consistency is actually more important than resolution. And then the hand back. Do you ever deal with disputes over documentation?
That is so powerful. It's a complete story, but it ends with a question that brings it right back to them.
And notice, it didn't mention the drone model. It didn't mention the flight controller or the software or anything. It focused entirely on the business result. They stopped arguing.
I love that. Okay, so you've had a great chat. You didn't cringe. You found the pain. You told a great little story. You exchanged business cards. Now what? This is where most people drop the ball.
This is the death zone. Most networking conversations die right here. You go home, you put the card in a drawer, and you never talk to that person again.
Guilty. I have a stack of those cards.
We all do. The source material calls this section the pipeline blueprint.
And there's a mindset shift here, too, that they talk about. Thread versus lead.
Yes, a chat is not a lead. You didn't close a deal because you had a nice coffee. A chat is a thread that you have to pull later. And the rule is momentum becomes math.
What does that mean, momentum becomes math?
It means you need a system where you are tracking 3 specific things for every single person you meet. Capture, next action, and next action date.
Capture is just logging it, writing it down.
Capture is writing it down within 60 seconds of walking away, or at least that same day. Who were they? What was their pain? What did you talk about? If you wait a week, you'll forget if they were the roof leak guy or the stockpile guy.
And next action.
The one specific thing you will do next. Not follow up sometime, but send email with checklist. Call to schedule a demo. Send sample report. Be specific.
And the date. The most important part, maybe.
When? If you don't have a date, it doesn't exist. Sometime is not a day of the week.
The manual outlines these momentum loops. I found this fascinating because it's so prescriptive. It tells you exactly when to act. Loop A happens 10 minutes post-chat.
Right. You walk out of the room, you get in your car. Before you turn the key, before you check your phone, before you drive away, you log the contact. You write down the pain, the trigger you identified, and you set the next action to 24-hour follow-up.
Loop B is that 24-hour mark.
This is where you send the memory anchor email. I'll talk about what goes in that in a second. That's the micro asset piece. But the timing matters. If you wait 3 days, the memory has faded. They've met 20 other people. If you wait 24 hours, you are still fresh.
Loop C is 7 days.
The value touch. You send value again, a checklist, an example, a relevant article with no ask.
No ask. That's interesting.
0 ask. You are not asking for a meeting. You are just being useful. You are training them to open your emails because your emails are helpful, not needy.
And Loop D is 21 to 30 days.
That's the nurture touch. It's tailored to a season or a trigger. Hey, storm season is coming. Just thinking of you and your flat roofs. Fiscal year end is coming. Do you need any final reports for your budget?
The manual suggests a magic metric here. It says you must have at least 10 next action dates scheduled at all times.
If you look at your calendar and you don't have 10 specific dates where you are going to ping someone with value, your pipeline is drying up. It's a simple health check. It stops you from wondering, why do I have no work this month?
Okay, you mentioned the memory anchor and sending value. This brings us to section 5, which I think is the secret weapon of this entire system. Micro assets.
This solves the biggest problem in follow-up, hands down.
Which is just knowing what to say.
Exactly. We all hate sending the just checking in email. It adds no value. It's annoying. It feels like you are nagging them.
Hey, just circling back to see if you have money for me yet. Gross.
It's terrible. The solution is to build a library of micro assets. These are one-page forwardable items that solve a tiny problem or educate the client. They are assets you own that work for you while you sleep.
Give me some examples. I want listeners to be able to go home and make one of these tonight. What's a micro asset for a homeowner?
Okay, think about the homeowner's anxiety after a storm. Create a storm damage documentation checklist, a simple one-page PDF with your logo. Here are the 5 things you need to take photos of before the insurance adjuster arrives.
That is incredibly high value for a homeowner who just had a tree fall on their roof and is freaking out.
Massive value. And you aren't selling anything yet. You're just helping. You are their guide in a stressful time.
What about for a small business? A restaurant owner or something?
A vendor, quote, ready documentation guide. Essentially, here's what you need to send a roofer or a paver so they can give you an accurate quote without visiting your site. It helps them talk to other vendors more effectively.
So you're helping them save money even if they don't hire you?
Exactly. Who do you think they'll trust? Okay, real estate.
What have you got?
Sample listing media package. Don't send a link to your whole portfolio website, which takes forever to load on a phone. Send a one-sheet PDF that shows, here is what the essential package looks like. Here is what the premium looks like. It makes the decision easy.
And for the big one, industrial.
Sample report page with labeling and findings log. Show them the data. Show them your work product. Here is what a labeled finding looks like. Here is how we categorize severity from P1 to P4. It proves you're a professional, not a hobbyist.
Why does this work so well? What's the psychology behind it?
2 reasons. First, it triggers reciprocity. You gave them something genuinely useful, so they feel a psychological urge to give something back, like a reply or a meeting. Second, and crucially, it's forwardable.
Right. The property manager can email that checklist to their boss or the other managers in their portfolio.
And now your name and your brand are circulating in their organization without you even trying. You aren't that drone guy calling again. You are the guy who sent that helpful checklist about roof drains.
It makes you look like a consultant, not a salesperson.
Exactly. Consultants get paid for value. Salespeople get paid for closing. You want to be viewed as a consultant.
Okay, Section 6. The soft ask. Getting referrals. This is the holy grail for any service business. If you can get referrals, you don't have to go to as many of those awful mixers.
The psychology of referrals is fascinating. People don't refuse to refer you because they're mean or selfish. They refuse because they are afraid.
Afraid of what?
Afraid you'll embarrass them. If I refer you to my best client, someone I've worked with for 10 years, and you are spammy or annoying, or you ghost them, or you do a bad job,
Netflix on you.
I look bad, my reputation takes a hit. I put my own relationship at risk.
So the soft ask is really all about risk reduction for the person giving the referral.
Yes. The manual gives us 4 rules to lower that risk to almost 0. Number 1, earn it first. Only ask after you've delivered value. Don't ask a stranger for a referral. That's just weird.
Okay, that makes sense. Number 2.
Be specific. Don't ask, do you know anyone who needs drones? That's too much mental work. Their brain just shuts down.
It's too broad.
It's too broad. Instead, ask, do you know a property manager who deals with a lot of flat roof commercial buildings?
That triggers a specific face in their mind.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Sarah over at Acme Properties deals with those all the time.
Exactly. Number 3, make it optional. Use permission language. If someone comes to mind, or no pressure at all, but if you happen to run into anyone, you have to signal that it's okay to say no.
You're giving them an easy out.
You have to. And the 4th one, the safety statement. This one really stood out to me as brilliant. This is the game changer. You explicitly promise good behavior. You look them in the eye and say, if you connect us, I promise I'll send one helpful note, and if it's not a fit, I'll bow out gracefully.
I'll bow out gracefully. That tells them you aren't going to stalk their friend. You won't be a pest.
It creates safety. Suddenly, the risk of referring you drops to 0. Oh, he's just going to send one helpful note and then leave them alone. Okay, sure, I can introduce them to Sarah.
And the manuals even suggest an intro kit.
Make it lazy for them.
Yeah.
Don't make the referrer do the work and write the introduction email from scratch. Send them a blurb they can copy and paste. Hey, Sarah, meet your name. He helps property managers with outcome. Thought you two should connect. I'll let him take it from here. Make it so easy they just have to hit forward.
This whole system is about lowering friction. Lowering the friction to talk to you, to hire you, to refer you.
It's all about trust. Which brings us to the final major section of the sources, trust killers.
The trust equation. Risk versus reward.
Every single interaction is a calculation in the other person's head. Is the potential reward of working with you higher than the risk? Networking mistakes make you look risky.
The sources identify 4 specific trust killers. Let's run through them. Killer number 1, over-explaining.
This signals you are hard to manage or, frankly, insecure. If you answer a simple question like, what time is it? With a long-winded instruction manual on how to build a watch.
People will avoid you.
They'll avoid you. They think, if I hire this guy, he's going to waste my time on the job site with stuff I don't need to know.
So what's the fix?
Speak in layers. Give the headline first. If they ask for more detail, give them the next layer down. Let them pull the information from you.
Killer number 2, bragging.
This one is obvious, but people do it all the time. It just signals ego. I'm the best pilot. I have the most expensive drone. I've flown for Netflix.
Vix.
Replace bragging with proof. Don't say you're good. Show them the micro asset. Show them the sample report. Let the work speak for itself.
Killer number 3, talking price too early.
This is a big one. It signals you are a commodity. If you give a price before you understand the full scope of their problem, you look like a discount option. You look like you're just guessing.
The fix is to anchor to scope, not price.
Exactly. Your answer should always be something like, well, it depends. It's a different price if you just need a basic flight for a quick look versus a full audit report with detailed annotations. That shows you are thinking about their needs, not just your hourly rate.
And the final trust killer, asking for work directly.
Do you have any jobs for me? It just smells like desperation. It makes people uncomfortable and puts them on the spot.
So instead of asking for a job, we ask.
Ask where the problem shows up. Do you ever struggle with getting clear documentation during storm season? Ask about the pain, not the job. If you solve the pain, the job follows.
Now, there's a compliance angle to trust as well that the sources get into. They're very specific about Canada versus the USA here. And this isn't just about avoiding fines.
No, this is huge. Compliance isn't just about not getting in trouble. It's a trust signal.
How so?
If you can casually and correctly reference the regulations, as you know, I operate under CARS Part 9X in Canada, or I'm a Part 107 certified pilot in the US, you're telling the client, I am a professional. I take this seriously. I am not a liability. It instantly sets you apart from the guy who just bought a drone at Best Buy yesterday and is flying illegally over his neighbor's house.
Absolutely. Corporate clients are terrified of liability. If you show you know the rules, you become the safe option. And it goes into outreach, too. In Canada, we have CASL, Canada's anti-spam legislation. In the U.S., you have CAN-SPAM and the FCC's new texting rules. The one-to-one consent rules for texting in the U.S. are getting really strict. You can't just mass text people anymore.
You really can't. And in Canada, you really need express permission before you add someone to a recurring email list, like a newsletter.
So simply asking that question, is it okay if I send you that checklist I mentioned?
It's not just polite.
It's polite, it shows respect, and it puts you on the right side of the law and on the right side of the relationship. It shows you aren't a spammer. You are a professional inviting them to receive value.
We have covered a massive amount of ground today. I mean, from the mindset shift of outcomes over tools to the tactical details of the no-cringe opener, context switching, and those micro assets.
We've basically dismantled the entire idea of networking as a personality contest and rebuilt it as a predictable, engineerable system.
So we're at the outro. We've moved from the awkward pilot to the strategic operator. What do we do now? What's the takeaway for everyone listening?
We have a challenge for you. The sources call it the Wingman Challenge.
Okay, I like it. What's the challenge? For the next 14 days, I want you to track every single professional chat you have, whether it's on LinkedIn, at a mixer, or just bumping into someone at the hardware store. Your one and only goal is to ensure that every meaningful conversation ends with a next action date.
Not just, I should email them, but I will email them on Tuesday at 10 a.m.
Put it in the calendar. If it's not in the calendar, it's not real.
If you do that, you will see momentum. It's inevitable. You'll stop worrying about where the next lead is coming from because you'll be actively building those threads.
Momentum becomes math.
I want to leave you with one final thought from this deep dive. The goal isn't to close every person you meet. You're not trying to win every hand you're dealt.
No, not at all. The goal is to build a system where momentum becomes predictable, where it becomes math, not luck. If you stop trying to impress people with your drone specs and start trying to be genuinely useful to their business, I mean, how does that change the way you walk into a room?
Think about that. Walk into the room to be useful, not to be impressive.
That's the entire shift.
Thanks for diving in with us. Go build those micro assets, practice that opener, and we'll see you on the next deep dive.
Safe flying. That's a wrap on today's mission, Commander. See above, go beyond, get ahead. For more training, tools, and intel, head to skycommander.ca. If you learned something new, share it, subscribe, and leave us a 5-star debrief.